Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received during my last QHHT Hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking of my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, in this particular case, I'm referring to Source, because Source was our surprise guest during this session. Now, this is going to be the last video of this session, where Source tells us why it came in and expands on it and why we are ready to hear it. We do have a couple of dreams before getting to the final messages, but again, dreams are, as you know by now, an easy way for me to get information. So I ask about these, and of course, they're normally speaking about universal messages, and that's why I share them with you. So here we go. Lorrayne. This dream was from September 11th. I was on an island. I don't know if I lived there or I was there temporarily, but I was working. I was almost done with the project and people were going to leave. There was a ship taking off that day and Juan was on it. Juan is someone I know. I was helping people get ready and he needed something to take with him. So I went to the other side of the island to get it for him. And meanwhile, I was already planning for the fact that I would be left on my own for a couple of days with this other acquaintance of mine, we'll call him Tom, and that he would want to get intimate with me since we had been flirting. I didn't know if I wanted to be intimate with him, so I figured it might be best to just avoid getting too hot and heavy with him to avoid the situation from getting to that point. What does this mean? The ship and taking off seems to refer to the takedown, but why would Tom be left behind when he's an NPC? Me. Yeah, correct. So in reality, it has to do with when the people left. And of course, we helped them in that mission, in that project, that part of the takedown. And then we're left behind with some people, including NPCs. That's right. And we really don't want to do certain things with these NPCs. And in the dream, it was like, I really don't want to be that close to these NPCs. I mean, they're nice and all, but they are NPCs. So this, again, is reflecting the reality we're living through, which is we're left with these people after the ship is taken off, after our brothers and sisters have left, whether to 3D chambers or with aliens. And so, yeah, Clea's concern was like, oh, what does this mean? It's like, why is he left behind if he's an NPC? NPCs are left behind. That's what it is. So, yeah, this was just telling her what's been happening behind the scenes. So it was interesting here. I'm like, yeah, I definitely don't want to be intimate with any NPCs in any way, whether platonically or physically. So Lorrayne, thank you. Okay, this dream is from September 12th. I was in a crowded airport ready to get on a flight, but they announced the gates closing and I missed it. However, I didn't feel bad about it. I also realized there were still lots of people left behind, so we just hung out. Then Keanu Reeves shows up and everyone is ooh, ah, over him. He's with a friend, but he seems reduced. He's short and talks with a very low voice, if he's really not very strong or anyone to look up to. He's also wearing black glasses indoors. I go to a different room, and after a while, he shows up, and I talk to him with disdain and expect him to be upset about my tone, but he sucks it up. I tell him, why do you speak with such a low voice? And why are you wearing sunglasses inside like a 13-year-old boy trying to be cool? Are you a 13-year-old boy, Keanu? And I laugh every time I think of this dream. And he lets me berate him without complaining, as if I'm in charge, and he has no say. I know I could do whatever I wanted with him, but I just don't like him that much. I think that perhaps his friend might be more interesting. I like my power. I do whatever I feel like doing. I start drawing hearts in a sandpit while a couple of men are sitting there watching, including his friend, whose name is Enrico. I turn around and small initials ES are inside my hearts, as if the person is in love with me, but is shy about it. I look at the friend suspiciously, knowing it was him who did that, and I ask Keanu, what is your friend's last name? He says Sordino. And by the way, I don't know this name at all, so it was interesting. He says Sordino, which matches the initials ES. Then I look at his friend as if I caught him at fault and give him a disappointed look, like a teacher scolding a child. And he just takes it in adoration. What does this mean? Me. Yeah, so we'll just comment on this dream. And the point is, so there is something going on in this dream where Clea is, quote unquote, mistreating these people, treating them very matter of fact, basically, facing them instead of being nice and flattering them. She's like, she's bored by this whole situation. She's trying to get away from it. And she's not impressed by the fact that this is Keanu Reeves. Ooh. And so she's actually treating him like, what? Are you a child? Because you're wearing sunglasses inside? because of course she's fed up with this old reality. This is not just Clea. Obviously, these dreams speak about how we all feel, the ones of us that are left here, how we all feel about this reality. And so she's saying, I finally was telling it like it is. Like basically, I'm telling them whatever I want to tell them with no fear of repercussion. And not only, they love me for it, because again, we are in control. So reality is what we are controlling right now and what we are dictating. So of course, there will be no repercussions. In fact, in the dream, these people, the more she mistreated them, the more they loved her. Oh my God, she's speaking the truth, right? And so that's what this was about. So we are in control of the reality, of the NPCs and all of that. And we're not pussyfooting, if you want to use that word, around things anymore. We are being very direct in what we wish to see. And that's why it's also tricky when we say, we see a lot of things, but I'm really not interested. Again, the moment we're all creating this together, we're all keeping it in place, we should say, because creation seems almost like we're proactively doing things. We are keeping it in place because we do have a benefit from it, even though it's super boring and super repetitive. Lorrayne, okay, thank you. Next dream from October 19th. I was in a big city. I think it was New York. It's as if I was in college and had tons of friends and was very social, but I was older than college age. There was a baseball game that everyone was going to, so I went along, but I knew it was not going to be that much fun for me. And it made no sense, in my opinion, for people to go because it could end late and we would be tired the next morning. So I left after a couple of innings, but I knew after leaving that the game had had several more innings. So I thought that I had been right in my feeling that you don't really know what you sign up for when you decide to do something like that. And now it messes up your next activity. In the next scene, it's as if it was the next day and someone told me they were going to a bar. I stopped by and it was fine, even though I didn't really care to be at a bar. But suddenly Obama and another US president arrived. They brought tons of Secret Service with them to secure the premises, and I didn't like it. So I was trying to leave and get away from that whole scene. But as soon as I got out, I turned around and realized that the place had been destroyed. I saw a handful of huge pink pigs, Lorrayne was laughing here, who had their snouts in the dirt, and there were ditches in front of them. I knew that they'd eaten everything down to the ground, and there was only dirt left where the bar had previously stood. There was nothing left, not the structure, not the people, not any signs that anything had ever existed there. I knew that the two presidents had ordered that the place be destroyed and everyone killed, with the exception of the few of us who had survived, to remove all traces of their visit and misbehavior. I was thinking that this was going to be very traumatic for the survivors, while for those guys, it was normal to spread trauma and destruction around just to protect their image. Me. Yeah, so the dark, basically, in this dream, we see basically the negative polarity, not the dark as in they did this, okay? Hopefully we're past the separation of thinking this, but because of the negative polarity we've had on this planet, everything is going to be taken down. Everything's being destroyed, basically. That's what that stands for. And we go back to like, there was nothing here. And so, of course, Clea is referring to herself and the other survivors, basically the people who are going to New Earth and thinking back. This is the work, the integration work we'll have to do. Thinking back and saying all of that just to cover our traces so we could do whatever we wanted and without any consideration for anything else. And all of a sudden, you know, we've had to destroy everything. So really, this dream was just reflecting the transition that we are going through. And yes, there was the part about, you know, even when you go to the game and you don't know when it's going to end, all of a sudden it's going to affect tomorrow. This part about like, we have not lived with responsibility in the sense of we have not worried about tomorrow. So we indulge into whatever we wanted without thinking, oh, how is this going to affect things? And this is very much what's transpired here. And Source commented on these dreams fairly quickly because we were kind of doing a marathon and I had a timeline. We had to be done by a certain time, but I think he just got to the gist of what they meant. So of course, basically they all refer to what we're going through, how we're going to be dealing with this transition when we finally get to New Earth and so on and so forth. Lorrayne. So now, are there any final messages and words of wisdom that you would like to leave us all with? Me. Yeah, so I came in today unexpectedly. Clea did not expect this because you, and I will say you, of course, my other aspects of me, my individualized aspects of me, you're ready for this. You're ready where you have allowed in more and more. And you, of course, have expanded your conscious awareness to absorb and to identify with a lot of the things that we have communicated, like the 25th, like the fact that we are one, etc. However, we always think of it as in terms of we are one, which always also implies separation. And so the reason I came in as me is because this is the last stop. And it's basically this conscious knowledge that I am the only one. And because of this, everything that is happening is an experience. And now I understand that when I individualize and when I focus on an individual aspect of myself, some of the experiences are not equal in terms of enjoyment. This is clear. In fact, as an overall experience on this planet in general has been much, much less pleasant than any other realities that have been created or any other, we'll just call it reality, dreams that have been dreamed up, et cetera, et cetera. And so I understand that. And I understand that one of the creations we have is the passage of time. And because of that, things are not easy. It's not as easy as saying, well, it is all transforming. It is all happening in the time that it takes. In fact, if anything, the time has quickened, the energy has quickened. We understand. I understand that at individual level, this doesn't feel fast and it doesn't feel pleasant. At the same time, the reason I came in, once again, is because I'll use the word you are ready to know this. So even in your tension, even in your impatience, you are now ready to accept and to fully know that you are I. There is no you. I am. And not just the way that we like to say it without believing it. Now, why is this important? Because this is going to be obvious when I move and focus on your earth. So we go back to one of the questions, which was, what's the point of doing this work in advance before going to new earth? Do we need to prep? It's not a matter of do we need to prep. Of course, I don't need anything. I don't need to prep. But it's a matter of, even at an individual level, we didn't need to know. A lot of people who do not know are going to be moving to new earth. However, it was important because it was our decision. It was the way that the energy was pulling, that this information would be allowed in, again, to revolutionize everything. This is what we have termed as the impulse last year. Again, letting in information from the 25th, starting a couple of years ago, over 2 years ago now. And then the project that we have done now, which we called a new impulse from source. The whole point is that you have gone through all these evolutions, and this is the ultimate evolution. We told you as the 25th in the last session, because Clea decided that she didn't know if she was going to do any more sessions, that it might be the last time that we spoke to you this way. And it comes out that it was very likely the last time that I spoke to you as the 25th, because now it's time for me to remember that I am me. Clea is me. I am all. And so there is no point in adding this last picket of we are here, but we're connecting with the 25th, which sounds like it's out there. There is no separation. And why was this important? Because this will remove the last of the resistance that those of us who have completed the project and are aware of having completed the project have had towards those of us with different personality types who have put up resistance to this conscious awareness. That resistance that comes from the people who believe we have no resistance to moving on, that resistance is part of the resistance. It's proof, it's concrete proof that we still want a separation. So when we say we are ready, we are still playing the game fully. Now, not as fully as we were before, of course, but we are still playing the game. We are part of the ones that are keeping the shell in place. We have said this many times, and yet we still find many of us that say, oh, but I don't want it. Oh, but I don't like it. We already explained this. The more we say, I don't want it, the more we're keeping the shell in place. Because why is that? That is rejection of what is. That is resistance. So when we have spoken about resistance, why the resistance is still in place, we weren't just referring to the fact that, and we've explained this before, but we hope this time it's more clear, it makes more sense, that the resistance wasn't only from those people that we know and we shall not speak of, and he was saying this tongue in cheek, who are now wanting to see and realize that their loved ones are gone. The resistance has come up from all of us because, again, there's only me. And everybody's put up resistance in different ways, depending on our personality and the way that we have done this work. But we have all done the work. The project has only been completed because I have done the work. All my aspects have done the work. The fact that it percolates in different manners, it shows up in different manners, or it induces different directions, or different manifestations in different people, or different reactions in different people, is because of personality. Personality doesn't really matter. Personality is just, again, variability. The bottom line is the work has been done. The resistance is almost gone. In fact, today's conversation will remove a lot of the resistance, because again, the resistance was also in those of us who were resisting the idea that there are still people resisting and that we have nothing to do with what is going on. And these other people who don't want to do this work consciously, they're the ones who are keeping the shell going at such a low vibe level. And because of this will free up the rest of the energy to finish the momentum that we have. And this is why we say the recall is close. Again, we don't want to give deadlines because there is no such thing. The energy will do what the energy will do. But we have basically integrated almost completely everything that we wanted to have in place before having this recall. Because this recall, once more, is a signal that it's now okay. It is now acceptable to use new rules everywhere, in every game, and this is a big deal. And while the energy is there at you can call it subconscious level, at 3D level, this has not been accepted. It's not like a new law has been written. It's almost like at 3D level, you can say a new law was passed. The law has not been passed. We are talking about the law, but the law has not been passed. The second the recall happens, it's almost like saying, okay, now the law is in effect, and now we're free to use these new rules. So after that, again, unless we choose to have a different experience here, still on this old planet, but right now we're kind of done and plan on moving on. So after we have the recall, right now, we still plan on moving on within a reasonable amount of time. And again, we don't want to tell you what that timeline is going to be because time is not real. So it just depends on the experience, how the absorption rate, if you want to call it that, what the absorption rate for this new reality will be. Because this recall will affect reality. It will be the trigger, just like we use triggers here to trigger certain experiences. We have used 3D triggers. And just to remind you, we use the example of saying, you want to heal yourself, but you have to make it look like you're taking an aspirin to take care of your headache when you could have made the headache disappear in the first place by yourself. We're using an external trigger is what we are doing. Again, very 3D style, very much on par with what we have kept going on this planet. So we do want the shell. This planet is not what it used to be. And we have kept this, and the shell is almost gone. So we know that we are impatient to move on, but the time is near at this point. Lorrayne, thank you. Okay, it's time to say thank you. And well, we're all one. There is no separation. I'll just say until next time. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I really, truly hope you enjoyed this entire session. I know for a fact that I do see how I was ready for it. And again, since we are all one, then it means we're all ready for it. So I hope this resonates with you. And I don't know if I'll see you in the next video, depending on how quickly we can get this done. There might not be a next session, but who knows? If anything comes up, as always, I will let you know. I'll find a way of letting you know. But in the meantime, I hope you're doing well. Take care of yourself, and thank you for everything.